Hello everyone, this is Miss Richardson with a tutorial on the calculator programming challenge. So this week your expectation is that you are going to do your challenges for the control structures. I am going to do a full walkthrough of one of them and then you are responsible for the rest. So I chose the calculator one because this is the first time we've ever seen a program with the menu options and I wanted to kind of show you how those work. So this program is going to ask the user for two numbers and present them with a menu to choose which expression they would like to use. It's going to either add, subtract, multiply, or divide the numbers, and then they also have the option to quit out. Then it's going to calculate the answer and print both the problem and the answer. So your program is going to use if statements or if else statements to control which expression. The program will need some type of user input, both for the numbers and the menu option. We're going to need it to create a while loop so that it keeps going until something happens. And that's something that's going to happen is the Sentinel value. So we need a Sentinel value to exit our program. Now that's actually built in right here with our quit option. That's going to be our Sentinel. And then when subtracting, we do not want negative values. You're going to have to make sure you subtract the smaller number from the larger number. This program should not generate negatives. All right, so let's start off by creating a plan. What do I want my program to do? So anytime we're using while loops or loops and a half, we want to break this into three parts. What happens before the loop begins, what happens during the loop's running, and then what happens after the loop is finished. Now, good programmer practice is before any loop occurs, you want to create your variables. We always create our variables first. That way you're not creating them multiple times within the loop itself, and then we can just reuse them. So we're going to create our variables. The second thing that we're going to have is a message telling the user what to do. Now that's actually built into your program. You'll notice it says, welcome to the calculator program, and it'll tell them to choose from the following options. So we kind of already have that built in. So mostly what we're going to be doing is creating a variables. Now the while loop is going to run until a Sentinel. So we can actually just set the while loop to true because we don't need to worry about building in an exit strategy because we have a quit option. Now, inside the while loop, we have our menu that's going to print each time they want to run this particular program. So we're going to have a menu option. And then depending on what they select, it's going to go different directions. If they select choice number 1, we need to add the numbers. If they select choice number 2, we need to subtract those numbers. And in the subtraction, if you guys remember, it says we have to make sure we subtract the smaller number from the larger number. So we need to subtract small from large. So that's probably going to require another if statement. If they choose choice number 3, it's going to multiply the numbers. If they choose choice number 4, it's going to divide. And then if they choose choice number 5, this is going to be our quit. This is our Sentinel right here. We're going to put in a break statement. So that is kind of our program in a nutshell. Now, inside of each one of these choices, we are going to have to calculate the answer. Sorry about that. And print both the problem and the answer. So each one of these, we're going to see this quite a few times for every single option. Now, within the program, it doesn't say that there's anything happening after our loop, so we may not even need to worry about that section. So we'll just worry about the before and the while. All right, let's go ahead and get started. So I know that the menu is going to be part of my while loop. So I'm going to set up my while loop really fast. And I'm just going to wrap that around my menu options for right now. Okay? Because before I do this, I need to create some variables. The first variable that I'm going to need to create is the first number they're going to enter. I'm just going to do num1. And I'm not going to initialize it to anything. I'm not going to set it to 0. I'm not going to ask for user input. I'm just going to make this variable so that I can use it later. I'm also going to make variable for the number 2. So they're going to enter a second number. And then I'm also going to create a variable to hold the answer. In each one of these, add, subtract, multiply, divide, we're going to be calculating something, and that answer has to be stored in a variable. So I'm just going to create 3 empty containers for me to use later on. Now, the main reason we create these variables up here is this while loop might run 3 times. This while loop might run 300 times. Every time you see this VAR, it is declaring or creating a new variable container. So it's taking a chunk of memory from your computer and using it and storing a value. Now, every time you create VAR, it makes a new chunk. It takes that extra space. So if I were to put num1 and num2 and answer down here and declare it every single time this program ran, I might use 600 slots of memory that I don't need to. By creating them up here, I make one variable or one container for number 1, one container for number 2, and one container for number 3, and then I can just refill them and change their contents down here without making new variables. So for those wondering why I'm doing that up here, that's just good programmer practice. Okay, so that was kind of my little side thing here. I have my intro message, I have my variables created. Let's get into our program. So our menu is already set up for us. Please choose from the following options: add, subtract, multiply, divide, or quit. And then right here, they have their choice. So we have some possibilities. If they choose number 1, so if choice equals 1, that's going to be our addition option. Now, I'm not going to fill in any programming right here. I'm just going to kind of set up a frame here. So this is if we are adding. Now, they may not choose choice number 1. Else if, let's say they choose number 2. Choice equals 2. I'm going to set up my curly braces here. That is going to be our subtraction option. Else if the choice is 3, set up my curly braces. That's going to be my multiplication option. Else if the choice is 4, that's going to be my division option. And then the last one, else if the choice is set to 5. That's going to be my quit option. And this is where I'm using my Sentinel value. 5 in this case is my Sentinel. Now, I have all of my frames set up. Now I need to think about what is the program that goes inside each one of these. First thing I'm going to have to do is I'm going to have to ask them for the numbers that they want to use. So that's going to be my user input. I'm going to need to calculate the answer, and then I need to print the problem in the answer. So we'll start off with the addition option. So first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to call the num1 variable. I am not declaring it, so I don't go var num1. I just type num1 because it's already made. I'm just using it. So num1 equals readInt, and I'm just going to say first number. And then num2 will be readInt first. Oh, this is second number. So right here is my user input. So now I have 2 numbers. Now I need to calculate. So I'm going to do the actual mathematical calculations. I'm going to call my answer variable. The answer is just going to be num1 plus num2. To print this, I don't want to just print the answer. I don't want to just go print answer, I actually want to print the entire problem plus the answer. So this is what that will look like. I'm going to go num1 and then print the plus sign, call num2 and print the equal sign, and then call my answer variable. When I run this program, here's what it's going to kind of look like. Oh, let me clear that. Oh, hang on. I've got an error message on line 40. Line 40. Uh-oh. So I forgot to close a curly brace somewhere. So I'm going to guess that that's probably my while loop, because see, I've got an opening curly brace for the else, but not a while loop. So I'm just going to fix that really fast. That should now correct that. Okay. Typically with the unexpected token, it means you forgot a curly brace somewhere. All right, so I've only set up the programming for add, so I'm just going to make sure I select 1. My first number is going to be 10. My second number is going to be 3. So now you can see this is actually going to print out the entire problem. 10 plus 3 equals. That's what all this code was about. And then it prints the answer. Okay? All right. Now let's go ahead and do that for the subtraction problem. So if choice number 2, we're going to still need to gather some input. So I'm going to copy this part of my code from up here. I'm just going to reuse it because I just need to gather my two numbers, num1 and num2. By the way, I'm going to indent this so it's a little easier to see where my code is. There we go. Oh, that's much better to read. All right, so I'm going to get my two numbers. Now, before I do calculation, this is the one where it's going to require a little bit of finagling. So if the first number is bigger than the second number, then we can just subtract normally. But if the second number is bigger, we need to flip the order. So I'm going to do if num1 is greater than num2, we can do our calculations. So we're just going to do answer equals num1 minus num2, right? And then I can just print that. So num1, print the minus sign, call num2, print the equal sign, and call for the answer variable. Now, if the second number is too big, we're going to have an else statement to catch that case. So I'm going to copy and paste this whole section right here. Oops, sorry about that. I'm going to copy and paste all of this code and then just flip things around. So instead of doing num1 minus num2, we're going to do num2 minus num1. And then we'll print those in the proper order, num2 minus num1. So let's run a test on this thing. So I'm going to choose from my subtraction menu. My first number is going to be big this time. I'm going to go 56 minus 13. So it should just print in order. 56 minus 13 equals 43. Now the second time, I'm going to put in a really small number. I'm going to do 5. Oops, sorry, got to select my choice. I'm going to do my first number is 5, and my second number is 19. This should flip the order where it does 19 minus 5. And it does. So 19 minus 5 is 14. Now, I like to explain to my user what's going on because they might be like, wait, no, that's not what I meant. I'm going to say I'm going to flipping order of numbers to prevent negative answer. That way, they understand why it printed those out of order. So I'm going to try that again. My first number is 5. My second number is 19. It's going to say flipping the order of numbers to prevent a negative answer. 19 minus 5 is 14. So that gives them just a little bit of explanation on why we're doing that. Okay. So multiplication and division are going to follow the exact same pattern. We're going to get our two numbers. We're going to calculate and then print. So multiplication, we're going to get num1 and num2. So let's copy that from up here. but this time we're going to multiply. So answer is going to equal num1 times num2. And when I print it, I'm going to go num1. I'm going to print the multiplication symbol. I'm going to call num2 and print the equal sign. And then I will call for the answer variable. So we'll check that. Check my multiplication. My first number is 3. My second number is 7. It should give me 21, and it does. And then last but not least is the division problem. We're going to start off the same way. Get that user input, num1 and num2. We're going to set up our answer equals, but this time we're dividing, so num1 divided by num2. Now, I know I'm going to get questions about, do we need to change the order for these two numbers? The answer to that is no, because when you divide, you'll never end up with a negative answer, but you might end up with a decimal answer, and decimal answers are perfectly acceptable for this particular type of program. So we're going to leave those in order. So if we type a really big number that we're dividing by, that's going to be okay. Just make sure we are not dividing by 0, because division by 0 cannot happen. So we might actually put that in here, second number, and we'll just say cannot be 0. Because division by 0 is not possible. Now that will only print if we're doing the division section, which is fine. All right, let's go print line. We'll do num1, print our division symbol, which is just a slash, print the number 2, print our equal sign, and our answer. I'm going to divide. I'll do, oh, sorry, that was supposed to be 4. I will do, the first number is going to be 40, and the second number is going to be 5, so that should give me the number 8. We will do the number 4 because we're dividing again. I can do 5 divided by 9, and I'll just get a decimal number. Now, the last thing that we need to do for this particular program is code our Sentinel. If they select quit, we need it to quit. Now, that one's actually really, really simple. You do a single statement break, and that will just end the program. So I'm just going to test that out, quit, and it'll quit the program. So that is all that this calculator program does. Now it feels quite long because we have a lot of if else's, if else's, if else's, but for the most part, this program works exactly as intended. So feel free to watch this video more than once if you need to, pause as you're going through, and make sure the program works the way that you want it to. When I go through and check it, I'm going to be looking for these key elements, right? If you do not have these 5 things, we're just going to need to make sure that you fix that within the program. All right. Thanks, guys. Have fun.